Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And today, submarines have been in the game for quite some time now. Officially, they've been fully in the game very recently, but we've really had them around for the past couple of years. And, well, submarines are definitely an annoyance, especially if they catch you by yourself. But thankfully, Wargaming added in the ASW aircraft armament to most ships in the game that don't have deck-mounted depth charges. The way the ASW armament works is that you hit the 4 button, it takes you into a top-down kind of view of your ship. I guess a higher altitude view would be the more better way to describe that. And you can select an area for an ASW aircraft to fly over. It'll take them, that depends upon, how far the area is away from your ship, anywhere from I think around 10-12 seconds to 14 seconds, 15 seconds at your maximum ASW range-ish to fly over, drop a couple of depth charges on the submarines, and either force them to dive down or take damage. Now, the air-dropped ASW weapons do a moderate amount of damage to the submarines because they don't really sink that low. The ship-dropped ASW charges, depth charges, will sink much slower and do more damage to the enemy submarine. But of course that requires you to sail over them, but you can also drop way more of them, and they will almost certainly at least cripple the submarine, if not sink it outright. Whereas the ASW is just a way to encourage the enemy submarine to leave you alone, unless, of course, you have multiple buddies with you, and then you can just frickin' Dresden that poor guy back to Kingdom Come. Now, most ships have a pretty standard ASW range for their tier. At higher tier, most ships have ASWs that go out to at least 10 kilometers. And, it cranks down the lower you go because, lower tier submarines are more frail, and lower tiers, of course, an entirely different animal. But for each tier, there's usually a set ASW range. And then we get to looking at some of the older premium ships, like the Massachusetts, that only has a 5-kilometer ASW range. Huh? It's a very weird balancing option that Wargaming's gone with. And 5 kilometers isn't exactly usable that much. Why? Well, if a submarine is within 5 kilometers of you, he's doing one of two things. One, he's being very cheeky. Or two, he's about to shotgun you, because 5 kilometers, that's, once you add in the arming range of their torpedoes, that's about point-blank shotgunning range. So typically, by the time the submarine has gotten that close to your ship, your match is probably either about to end, or his match is about to end. Usually, it's your match that's about to end if he's allowed to get that close to you with any amount of his HP intact. Now, you might be saying, well, Sealord, it's the Massachusetts. It has amazing secondaries. So clearly, Wargaming put that in there in order to counteract the Massachusetts secondaries, because if the submarine's spotted, surely the secondaries will rip that submarine a new one. Well, sure. If the submarine's on the surface or at periscope depth, sure, the Massachusetts secondaries can rip that submarine a new one. But, secondaries take 45 seconds to spool up to their full accuracy now, and I don't know if you've seen the size of submarines, but they're kind of tiny, alright? So you're not really going to be tearing him a new one unless your secondary accuracy is already built up, or he just sits on the surface for 45 seconds, which most submarine captains won't do that. And may I add, too, that on the surface is a prerequisite for your secondaries to be able to fire at this submarine. Which means that a submarine can sit 5.2 kilometers away from your Massachusetts at operational depth, and you can't do a dang thing to him 5.1 kilometers outside of your ASW range. At all. Which is kind of awkward. Now, sure, you can argue that this Massachusetts secondaries is already a very powerful ship, so that's just a balancing factor for the Massachusetts, and again, the secondaries will rip the submarine a new one. Okay. May I present to you my case in point B or 2, whatever you want to call it. The Musashi, another premium battleship or premium ship of old that also has a very short ASW range. And might I point out that the Musashi does not have a mountain of secondary guns on its side. So yet again, this is a ship where a submarine can sit right on the outskirts of your ASW range and still be well within 10 kilometers of your ship, and there's not a darn thing you can do to it when it's below the surface, which is very awkward. Now, it's a little bit more awkward for the Musashi in this instance because Musashis do normally play more in the back. The Japanese battleships are snipers, so you typically hang back and you do, Yamato Musashi things. You snipe enemy ships across the map, you punish broadsides, and then, oh no, there's a submarine within 10 kilometers of me, but not within my ASW range, so now I can literally do nothing to him. And keep in mind, too, that most of these submarines are, of course, very sneaky. And they can sit at periscope depth well outside of their detection range. Or they can even sit at the surface outside of their detection range and still be within pinging range of your ship. So there's points where you can literally see the ping within, again, 10 kilometers of your ship, and you can't do anything, even though they're on the surface because they won't be spotted. And you can't drop your ASW on the hydrophone effect, whatever you want to call it, the ping effect, because your ASW simply doesn't have the range. And if you're in a situation like with the Musashi, where you're playing the ship like the ship is played, getting mid to longer ranges in the back behind your team, you're kind of just screwed, and you have to maneuver. And keep in mind, too, that most Tier 10 submarines are faster than the Musashi. In fact, I'm pretty sure they all are faster than the Musashi, because Musashi only goes 28 knots. So the submarine can literally just stay on the surface outside of your ASW range, ping away, and as long as he's not spotted, you can literally do nothing to him. So Wargaming did originally say that they had this in place for ships with good secondaries, because it's a balancing factor. But then they kind of went back on that and they normalized the ranges. Like the GK's got a 10 kilometer ASW range, even though it has 12.5 kilometer secondaries and some of the best secondaries in the game. It doesn't really make much sense in my mind as to why these ships, and these are just a couple of examples too, still have very, very short ASW range. And it could be that these ships were removed for being too popular, which means that they were kind of overpowered. And in order to kind of, I guess, retroactively balance them, rather than change core statistics about them, they're just giving them dog crap ASW, which, I mean, okay, it's a very weird way to balance the ship. And especially for the Massachusetts, where it plays on the front line a lot, it's going to be, near the submarines. Then you give it, a little T-Rex arm for its ASW range, which is, again, like, okay, it's, I guess if you want to balance it, which is the only thing that I can really think of. They did also say that partially this was because most times when a submarine does get spotted near the enemy team, it kind of gets dogpiled by ASW planes. And again, I'm sure plenty of you guys, either just from watching my streams, you haven't played a lot recently, you guys have seen when a submarine gets spotted, the sky literally fills up with ASW planes, and then the dude's dead. It's like, okay, but like, still, most of the ships in the game have far more usable ASW ranges than this handful of premium ships. And these are also premium ships that have been removed from sale. And these are premium ships that people literally spend hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars trying to get in the Christmas container events, especially for the Musashi. I know players that have spent literally thousands of dollars trying to get Musashi. And then they get it and has little T-Rex arms for its ASW range. So in my opinion, it's a very weird thing, a very odd, again, retroactively balancing tactic that they're going with for ships like the Musashi and the Massachusetts, that if you're going full tilt with submarines, I mean, you're ruining some of the favorites of this game. Like Massachusetts, it's still my favorite premium ship. It does suck when a submarine pops up and I can't do anything to it. like if it's being spotted by hydroacoustic search, like let's say someone has popped hydro and they sailed over the top of that submarine, though he's at operational depth, and he's spotting it for the team. Well, guess what? If that, cruiser, whatever, destroyer that's done that has done that and is engaging in team play, I can't do anything to assist him because my ASW range is 5 kilometers. He can be 6 kilometers away from me. Keep in mind, too, in this game scale, 6 kilometers isn't that far away. Like, 10 kilometers at tier 10 really isn't that far. And these guys, again, the ASW range is so short, they're within that 10 kilometer range, and they're just right there, and you can't do anything to them because your ASW planes are too short and stubby. It's just, again, a weird thing that it's definitely time for them to change. I mean, especially with submarines becoming more and more mainstay at higher tier. I mean, it's not really that uncommon for me to play for like hours, and again, you guys can check out my streams on Friday and Tuesdays for those, that there's like a submarine or two in just about every single game at tier 10. You go down to low tiers, like tier 6 and stuff, oh boy, it's like 2 subs a game. So I think it's, we're out of testing. I don't think giving a handful of rare premium ships some standardized ASW aircraft, I don't think it's going to exactly wreck the game's balancing any more than it currently is. So, yeah, it's just a weird thing that I'm surprised Wargaming has still stuck with for this long, but it's definitely something that needs to be changed, in my opinion. And the whole reason that I brought this up is because in the first clip with the mass, that was the first time I'm pretty sure I've killed a submarine with the ASW on the Massachusetts since submarines have come out full bore officially. And I play the Massachusetts quite a bit. So that's what got me thinking about this. I just wanted to share my thoughts about this with you guys. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you agree, if you disagree, why do you agree, why do you disagree, and what other changes would you have made to ASW in general? And yeah, just let your thoughts be heard in the comments down below. Hope you guys have a wonderful Saturday. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 50,000 subscribers, and I can't thank you guys enough for that. Hope you guys have a great Saturday, great rest of your weekend, and hope to catch you guys in the next one.